Hi everyone, welcome. Today we're looking at solving one-step equations, those that require only one step to be able to reach a solution. That's what we're talking about here. This goes from section 2-2 and our learning target is simply I can solve one-step equations. Okay, and let's just look at a couple of properties that'll help us to be able to solve these equations, and they'll help us with all equations, not just the one-step ones. But first, the addition property of equality says for any real numbers a, b, and c, if a equals b, then a plus c is going to equal b plus c. And what that really means is if you have two sides of the equation that are equal to each other and you add the same thing to both sides, they will still be equal to each other. Think of it this way. If you had on the left side of the equation something that equaled 5, and on the right side of the equation you had something that equaled 5, so they're equal to each other at that point. If you add 4 to both sides of the equation, then you're going to have essentially 5 plus 4 on one side, which is 9, and you'll have 5 plus 4 on the other side, which is also 9, so they'll still be equal. So if you add the same thing to both sides of an equation, it will still be equal to each other. Same thing with subtraction. Subtraction property of equality says for any real numbers a, b, and c, if a equals b, then a minus c is going to equal b minus c. So in other words, if you subtract the same thing from both sides of an equation, it will still be equal to each other on both sides. So that lets us do some things in terms of being able to get variables isolated or get variables alone. So let's look at a couple examples here, and I'm just going to spread this out a little bit to make it easier. I'm going to move the second example down a little lower. So in this first one, what we're looking at is x plus 3 equals 52. So what we're going to do is use, in this case, we'll use that subtraction property. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides. Now I have a plus 3 here. I want x to be all by itself. So to get this away from here, I'm going to have to do the opposite of that. So I'm going to have a minus 3 from this side, and then I have to do the same thing to the other side. So I'm subtracting the same thing from both sides of the equation. When I do that, a plus 3 and a minus 3 cancel each other out, so I end up with just x on this side. And so now I have that variable isolated, which I wanted. And then here, 52 minus 3 is going to equal 49. So in this case, in one step, we subtracted 3 from both sides to get the variable by itself, and now we know that x equals 49. In the second one here, we have 13 plus x equals 8. Again, we want this x to be all by itself. So we have a positive 13 sitting here. And so to undo that, we want to do the opposite. So we're going to have to subtract to make that 13 disappear from this side. So I'm just going to write that again there. And then to keep the equation the same, we need to also subtract 13 from the other side of the equal sign. So now if we have 13 minus 13, that's just 0. So what we have remaining on the left side is x. And then we have 8 minus 13 on the right side, which is going to take us to a negative 5. Because if we start out with 8 and we take 13 away from 8, we're going to get not just a 0, but we're going to get 5 less than 0, or a negative 5. So now we've solved both of these equations for x. And we did it in one step, and we did it in both of these cases by subtracting something from both sides of the equation to allow us to get the variable by itself. If this had been a minus sign in this first one, say we had x, say we had x minus 3 equals 52, then to make that, to solve that for x, we want to get x by itself. So now since we're subtracting 3, we're going to need to add 3 to undo that. So we have a negative 3 and a plus 3. That will become 0. So now we will just have left on this side x, and that's going to be equal to, we're going to have to add 3 to this side as well to keep the equality intact. So 52 plus 3 equals 55. So if it had been written the other way with x minus 3 equals 52, our answer would be x equals 55. In the first case over here, since it was x plus 3 equals 52, we'd subtract 3 from both sides and get x equals 49. So those are single step equations, and we just use those couple of rules really will help us be able to solve a lot of these. Now the next time we'll get into multi-step equations. Same rules we have, we just have to do more steps. But if you can do this one-step equation, you're going to be very capable and very able to do 2 or 3 or 4-step equations as well. Thanks very much for listening. Take care. I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day.